Welcome to Frankly Speaking Hurricanes Football with your host, Frank Masdeu. Well, I want to welcome everybody to Frankly Speaking Canes Football. I'm really excited to be here with my brother, Robert Powell. I want to make sure that you guys hit the like, subscribe button down at the bottom if you like the content, and check out our content today. Today, we're going to basically do a quick overview of the NC State game and get into the Pittsburgh game and what things look forward to as far as the football games coming up and Tyler Van Dyke and what he's doing and how he was evaluated. So I want to introduce my brother, Robert. Robert, come on in. We've got a new segment. Go Canes. And I want you to introduce the new segment. We're going to start with something that you've told me many times, but I don't think we actually realize the import or impact to this number one Robert's rules, which is going to be part of this new segment, the number one rule. But I'm going to go ahead and let you kick that off. So why don't you take it?
Yeah, Frankie, thank you. Fix your collar, man. You got your collar all buttoned up, kind of funny. Get your stuff together. But you know how it is. We gotta watch out for one another because we're getting older, man. We don't know if our socks are the right color, Well,
they're always either aqua or orange, that's for sure.
Right. But yeah, we were talking earlier. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking, and we kind of landed on a couple things, right? We landed on talking about the past couple of weeks with the Canes, right? What's been going on? And we came up with the Roberts rules, right? That if you're going to dig yourself out of that dark place, there are some basic things as a team you must have, not only to dig yourself out of that dark place, but the way that you play and the way that you approach the game. And this is beyond coaching. It's beyond the talent on the field. It's beyond the fans in the stands. It's more, it's deeper. And if you look at some of the top teams, they have those rules, whatever they may be for their particular team. But I assure you that those rules are rooted in three things, and we're going to call them the Roberts rules. The first thing, you got to have something to play for. What is it? What are you playing for? Are you playing for yourself? Are you playing for mom and dad, a family? Is there a deep emotional thing that you're playing for? What is it that you're playing for? And it has to be something that the team can rally around, something that the team all believe or can wrap their arms around. Is something that's tangible. It's something that is common amongst your teammates. So that's rule number one. And we're going to talk about what that is in a moment. Rule number two, Robert's rule. You must believe, you must have confidence. You must have confidence. You must believe in what you're playing for. First thing, what are you playing for? Once that is defined by whomever, by whatever, you must believe in what you're playing for. Right? The final piece, and I call this the glue. And we know this. We see it with every team. And Frankie, when you and I talked about this earlier today, we converged on this one idea. And we saw it with the Canes over the past 4 games. Yeah, that's right, the 4 games. 2 we lost, 2 we won. Now check this out. You got to have a QB. Mm-hmm. Your quarterback allows everyone to play better. Your offensive line, your receivers, your running backs, your defense. Make the coaches look better, right? When you have that quarterback, and that quarterback is able to execute on what the game plan is, 9 times out of 10, you'll have success. So let's talk about the Canes specifically. What's that thing that they're fighting for? What's that thing that they're fighting for? I believe, as a team, and they're all rallying around it, they're fighting for the coach. Mm-hmm. They're fighting for Manny Diaz Now, we all have our thoughts about come and go, who's the next coach is going to be. This is the outside noise. This is the outside noise. But in that locker room and those practices, those players, and we saw the last 4 games, they're playing for something bigger than themselves. They're playing for Manny Diaz. They believe in Manny Diaz. Which brings me to the second thing. Confidence and belief. They believe in themselves. They believe that they're a better team. They believe in the coaches. They believe in Manny Diaz. And they're showing it on the field. And then finally, the most important piece, the glue. They got to have a leader. They got to have someone out in front that's leading them on that thing that they are all fighting for, that thing that they have confidence in themselves, and that's the quarterback. Without that quarterback, and we see it at the University of Miami, without that quarterback, you're lost. Right? Now, there could be other folks that can be anointed, leaders on the team. But if one of those leaders is not the quarterback, you will have trouble. And I believe that they have identified that leader that is driving the team against what they're fighting for. And they're driving against the belief that they are a better team. So Robert's rules are very simple. What are you fighting for? Do you believe in what you're fighting for? And do you believe within yourself for the team that you're fighting for something bigger? And who's going to lead us to the promised land, the QB? Without those things, look at the top teams. And I tell you a team that is absent of one of those pieces, and we're seeing it in them right now. Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 of Robert's rules. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback like they had, and you're seeing it. Same coaches, same fans, same feel. Of course, they miss some other pieces in that puzzle as far as players on the field, but they got the talent. But I do not believe that they believe wholly in their quarterback. And the quarterback hasn't shown that they're able to lead them, that he is able to lead them. So those are Robert's rules, the 3 rules. What are you fighting for? Do you believe in something that's bigger than you as a team that we all can rally around? And then who's going to be that leader? So that's how we'll open up that session. And we have other things to talk about. But those are what I believe to be Robert's rules when you hit that field at a college football level.
Well said, Robert. And I think you need all 3 of those ingredients. But I want to share with you something that I heard today that kind of was interesting. Georgia beat Florida 35-7 yesterday. And they interviewed Kirby Smart, and the fan base was upset because they didn't think it was a big enough shellacking. And their starting the quarterback that they wanted, going to your quarterback, the better quarterback did not play, but that could be because he's been injured or nicked up. So Kirby Smart had an interesting response. He said, because they were questioning, I think he was out on either recruiting or I don't know, something to do with recruiting. But he said, listen, he said 25% of football is coaching. He said, the reason we beat Florida today is because we have talent on the field. We have those guys. Okay. He said he was basically saying 50% of it is recruiting. Okay. 25% of it is coaching and 25% of it is game planning. So 50%. So it goes down to recruiting. And going to your point about the quarterback. Okay. The quarterback. We had a team that believed in Manny Diaz or believes in Manny Diaz. That's quite obvious because they fought for him. And we had a quarterback that was a great leader in King, and he went down. So the question was, who was going to get the troops to rally around him? And with Tyler Van Dyke, they're finally believing. It goes to your Robert rule number 2. Do you believe in the cause? Do you have a mission? Okay, this is what do you believe in? And do you believe in the cause? And now do you believe you can do it? Do you have the talent to do it? So I think that's very profound, because I think we get lost sometimes and we overemphasize the scheming and the coaching. While that's important, I think the bottom line is, like Kirby Smart said, he said, if you've got 5 stars littering your team and you have a better team, coaching is 25% of it. The rest of it is talent, skill level, and discipline. And so right now, I think you and I have seen it, that the last 2 recruiting classes that Manny Diaz brought in, the talent gap between the 2020 class and the 2019 class and the 2017 class is massive. And you and I spoke about this a little earlier. And this is the thing that frustrates me. Like when we talk about in Coach's Corner and what they do, this is the thing that frustrates me. You have seniors on the team, juniors, 4-year players, 5-year players that aren't as talented. And there's a huge gap between those players and the 2019 recruits and the 2020 recruits that have come in. So the question becomes, and you and I have talked about this, in a perfect scenario, you want to sit those kids, you want to redshirt them, grow them into a position. But when the talent gap was as wide as it was when we first got started, you've got to play the young kids. They're going to make mistakes. You and I talked about it. Williams with that interception, then he takes his helmet off. They put the ball back at the 1-yard line against Pittsburgh. He puts us in a hole. But guess what? If we had one of the other players, then we probably don't get the interception. So I think and he had like 8 tackles or 9 tackles, had a tremendous performance. So I think the key is what you're saying. The quarterback is the key. And I hearken back to a conversation you and I had today also about, for instance, with Tom Brady. Look at the Patriots with and without Tom Brady. They thought Tom Brady was washed up. They moved him out. The young guy that came in, they're not the same team. So you need a quarterback that can make the plays, that can garner the confidence from the coaching staff. Because the other issue that we have is, I think we don't know how to win as far as a coaching staff is concerned. We let up off the gas. And with the play calling, all of a sudden, once the team builds up a lead, and Rhett actually showed it in the second half of the third quarter of that game, all of a sudden we become very conservative. And it's either you have the confidence, in the player, in your team, or in your quarterback, or you don't. And I think he's earned the confidence now. On the flip side of that, look at Pittsburgh. You and I talked about this too, and this blew me away. They're a 3rd and 5 from the 5-yard line to go up and tie Miami on a 3rd and 5, and they take the ball out of their superstar Heisman candidate, 5th-year senior, okay, and they do who knows what the hell it is. It's called a Pittsburgh special, where they flip the ball to a wide receiver who's going to toss the ball to the quarterback who's going to become a receiver, and that's where I say coaches become stupid. And I hate to use that term, but there's no other way to describe it. 90% of the coaches out there would say, if I've got this kid at Pittsburgh, okay, sitting there, a Heisman candidate, am I going to take the ball out of his hands, especially if he just finished throwing for 500 yards? No way. So the coaches get cute and they get stupid. So talent is the number one thing. So I look at that issue with senioritis. That's also a coach's disease. Players that they've got loyalty to, they've stuck with, and we've run out probably 8 or 9 players have left the program in the last 2 years because he's replacing them with better quality players. So I give Manny Diaz credit for 3 big things as a coach. Number 1, he took the kids that weren't performing and he was able to move them out and reduce their roles and put kids that could perform better in. But even bigger than that, he made defensive coaching changes and he made offensive coaching changes. So he's not the type of coach that will just basically recalcitrate or get back into his position and hold firm. He'll make changes when he thinks he needs to make changes, and he'll make them wholesale, because these were wholesale changes. You and I talked about it on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. I don't know how many redshirt freshmen and true freshmen we have playing, but it's a ton of them. And they're doing a fantastic job. Going back to your 3 points. 1, they have a passion. They have a goal. They have a mission. They have, this is what they're playing for. They're playing for this. They're playing to win the ACC championship. They're playing for their coach, and they've got a leader that they believe in. So I think it's really amazing to me. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to share with you real quick. I'm going to share my screen, some of the statistics that came out. Let's see here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Listen to this. This is stunning, because I think the quarterback problem has been our problem for several years, and thanks to King, we had it solved until he got hurt. And De'Aaron King was fantastic. But this goes to show you, according to the folks at Pro Football Focus, this is how Van Dyke is graded out. He's graded out as the 4th best passer in the country at a Power 5 level over the past 2 weeks, with an 89.6 passing grade. At the Power 5 level, they've only got Sam Hartman from Wake Forest and Chase Gardner's from California and Khalif Williams of Oklahoma. Of that bunch, Van Dyke is tied with Hartman with making the most of the big time throws, a metric Pro Football Focus classifies as a pass with excellent ball location and timing, generally thrown further downfield and into a tighter window. That's powerful. You remember, you and I have been talking, and I want you to share your thoughts on this. You and I have been talking for 2 years that we've had trouble throwing the deep ball. And here you've got a response. You're looking at the metrics that he has been quite adept and skilled at throwing the deep ball. What are your thoughts?
Well, those stats and us playing Pittsburgh and how we beat Pittsburgh takes me back to, I guess, maybe 3 years ago. We're sitting number 2 in the nation, if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
We had 2 of the 3 of Robert's rules.
Yeah.
They knew what they were playing for. They were playing for not the ACC championship.
National.
They were playing for national championship. They're ranked number 2 in the nation behind Malik Rozier. All right. We had a defense, which was a championship defense. We had confidence, which is Robert rule number 2. Confident. We had the ability, we had the skill. We believe in what we were doing. We were missing number 3. And it showed in Pittsburgh, that last conference game, number 2 in the nation, Pittsburgh beat us. They exposed the fact that we didn't have a quarterback. Malik Rozier could not make the throws that are highlighted in this PFF rating of Van Dyke. If you recall that game, he could not make the throws.
No, they were open.
Now, granted, we had a couple of our key receivers that were out, so on and so forth. However, he could not make the throws. He couldn't make the throws downfield. He could not make them in tight windows. And they said, listen, we're going to stop the run because we don't think you can throw it. And sure enough, he couldn't throw it. We went into our next game, lost that game, which was, I believe, a bowl game against Wisconsin. They did the same thing. So I don't want to rehash the past, but I'm doing it to make a point.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, you can have everything else. That team that we had 3 or 4 years ago, we may not have won the national championship, but we won the ACC. Coastal, we got handled by Clemson because they exposed us, right? And I think we lost 3 straight games. Pittsburgh, we lost to Clemson, then we lost the bowl game to Wisconsin.
Yes.
Because we didn't have the third ingredient, quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my thoughts. And I firmly believe that, now granted, sample size, only maybe a third of a season, but the sample size is a sample size of growth, maturity from Virginia, North Carolina State, and then Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a fluke. I know that there's some folks out there, some fans, some haters out there to say, oh, you got lucky. No. If you look at the progression of the team and the leadership of that team from the time we played Virginia to this past Saturday, you clearly saw growth in the leadership, starting with Van Dyke to every player on the team. And also, people want to beat up the coaching and won't get off of that. But to make that move now, could have made it early. And that's from not being a head coach before, inexperience. But Manny is learning on the job. I hate that.
Yep.
I'm tired of that. I mean, I'm going to just be honest and transparent here. However, all the changes you mentioned, now he's made changes of personnel on the field. And those freshmen are playing, as well as the upperclassmen who are still on the field. So, I mean, let's not overlook them, because you still have another 50 to 60% of the players who are upperclassmen are still on the field. And they're doing a doggone good job as well. Because rule number one, they're playing for something. Rule number two, they believe. Rule number three, they have a quarterback. That quarterback, I'm thinking that offensive line looked good too. So those are my thoughts with the comment and question that you put before me there.
Getting back to your point about they believe, I think there was a very real possibility that he could have lost the locker room. And I think what changed in that is that when you have players that are practicing and scrimmaging and that have gone through spring camp, fall camp, that have spent an entire year together and some longer than that, several years, they know who the more talented players are. And when you refuse to put the best players on the field, you lose that Robert rule number 2, believe. Okay. You've got to believe in the mission. You've got to believe in the goal. You've got to believe that you've got the leadership to do it. And I think by Manny making those wholesale changes and putting players that actually give them a chance to win, he has garnered the respect of the team. And by bringing in Tyler Van Dyke, who's taken the leadership role, and you and I talked about it. And again, it's 2020 vision, and I understand it. I think we did a disservice in hindsight with Derek King starting him out of Alabama. We didn't give him enough time to recover. And we kind of forced him back into service when he wasn't ready, and that created a big problem. But that being said, I want to share with you a couple more things that were fascinating. Van Dyke was 6 of 14, just under 50% of deep shots, passing for 241 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. Now he graded out, this came out wrong in the translation here on the Word document, but he graded out as the best deep ball thrower at the Power 5 level with at least 10 deep ball attempts, trailing only West Virginia's Jarrett Dodge, California's Garber, USC's Ken Solvis, and NC State Devin Leary, which we saw Devin Leary tear us apart, and Wake's Forrest Hartman. That is a very powerful stat, because one of the things we talked about also, some of the comments that were made by the Pitt linebackers when they were doing their interviews, was that he stood in the pocket and took the shots, and he was willing to throw the ball. And that was the same thing that they said at NC State, that they wanted to hit him, rattle him, throw different looks, and see if he would be able to pick up the blitz and throw the ball in the right area. And he took the hits and he made the throws. So it's one thing to have the intelligence. It's another thing to have the courage. And Diaz said it, you have to have a lot of courage. The courage to stand in that pocket and know where the ball's got to go and deliver it when you're going to get your head knocked off. And I think that's a huge thing. But he's also 6'4", 225 guy. So that's a big deal. Now, here's another thing that was really interesting. The biggest area Van Dyke has improved over the past 2 starts compared to his first 2 starts, and it goes to what I was just talking about, the pressure, his ability to deal with pressure. In the last 2 weeks, get a load of this, Van Dyke has completed 10 of 16 for 164 yards and 3 touchdowns when under duress or pressure. Against UNC Virginia, Van Dyke combined for a 3 of 13 for 10 yards and 1 interception. So in the two losses, he was only 3 of 13 for 10 yards under pressure. The growth is remarkable in a short period of time. And then it goes on to talk about, this is from them, that Pittsburgh looked to force Van Dyke to be willing to work the short and intermediate passing game. Again, we've talked about this too. We got some players that can work the short and intermediate, but can't hit the deep ball. We've had quarterbacks. Then we've got quarterbacks that can hit the deep ball, but they can't hit the short and intermediate. I'll give you a great example. N'Kosi Perry, good deep ball thrower, terrible intermediate thrower. Okay. We had problems with him in that category. We had other quarterbacks. So it's interesting. So they wanted to challenge him for the intermediate game. And this is amazing. He completed 18 of 18 passes behind the line of scrimmage that went for 140 yards. That's amazing. He was also highly effective in the intermediate passing game. I think he was 10 of 9 balls between 10 and 19 yards from the line of scrimmage. He completed 7 of 9 of those for 98 yards and a touchdown. Then it goes on to talk about more proof that Van Dyke's ball placement was on point. receivers. This was huge. You always used to talk to me about this, and we always shared this. Yards after catch, the yak, right? Okay, more proof that Van Dyke's ball placement was on point. receivers racked up 291 yards after catch against Pittsburgh.
Oh,
that's
wow.
huge. That 200. That's more than half of the total passing yards were after the catch. That's massive. The next highest total after catch against FBSC opponent this season came against Michigan State when receivers totaled 167 yards. So even against Michigan State, he did pretty well. So, I mean, in that category. Anyway, the bottom line is that this guy's going to be, looks to be the deal. I also want to share with you just briefly here. Let me close this here. Hang on.
Yeah.
Okay. This is some of the highlights from TVD. And one of the things that I just want to play them. Tell me if you hear the audio, because I want to see that that's working too. All right, here we go.
Yes, I do hear the audio.
Okay.
Bottom of the screen, you got Rainbow in the slot.
Van Dyke has time. Across the middle, scores! 2 quick touchdowns. This one is a 9-0.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt real quickly on this one too, because to your point, Robert, you've been harping on this for 4 freaking weeks, or 5, maybe longer, that they got to get Arroyo more involved in the game, and that granted, Mallory, whatever, he's just not. I mean, he did some good things, but he did some bad things. But Arroyo is the athlete that we need on the field. So I wanted just to share that. Let me put some more on there. But that was to your point. They're bringing him in now.
Your tight ends in the game. You see on the left side of your screen, Will Mallory runs the vertical, and then you get Arroyo just in behind him.
Look at that pass.
Now reverse. Back to Van Dyke. He's going to look to throw it to receiver wide open. Mallory. He'll score.
I'd like to make a comment about this
Sure.
play here.
Go ahead.
So we still hear, the coaches in the stands, including myself, speak about why is it that our offensive coordinator, he's just not calling an aggressive game. I go to Robert's rule number 2, confidence and belief. That extends to the coaching staff also.
Yeah.
Do they have the confidence that the team can execute some of these more complex play calls? Look at all the movement that is taking place here. Look at the linemen, the blocking that they had to do and had to hold their blockers. The ball changes hands 3 times. The quarterback gets it the first time, 1. Gives it to number 4, 2. It gets back to the next guy. So it's 4 times before the pass. And these offensive linemen got to hold these blocks. That's 1. Number 2, you have a route that's being run by this tight end. It's a perfect route. The ball is placed perfectly.
Oh yeah.
He didn't have to jump. He didn't have to drop to his knees. He didn't have to do a 360 or a 180 to catch it. It hit him in stride and allowed him to go in for a easy touchdown. How many times have we seen guys wide open and the ball is over their heads. It's in the dirt.
Mhm.
It's out of bounds, and the receiver has to make a crazy catch, and we're fine. Oh, that's great. That's great. We got 15, 20 yards, first down. No, that should be a touchdown. He's
Right.
wide open.
Right. Yards after
So-
catch.
Yards after catch. So this here, to me, embodies everything that Lashley has been trying to do on the offensive side of the ball. If he was able to believe that they can execute a 4-touch, right? Touch it 4 times before it leaves the backfield. The quarterback gets it to number 4, that's number 2, gives it to I guess that's the X-Man,
Yeah, the X-Men.
3, and then it gets back to the quarterback.
Right.
That's 4 touches deep behind the line of scrimmage. So, I mean, sometimes we look at these plays, we take them for granted, or we get caught up in the touchdown itself. And I know some of the folks who are really into football and can understand the complexity of some of this stuff and how quickly this has to happen and all the things that can go wrong. This here is hitting on my number 2 point.
Yes.
The
Believe.
confidence and the belief, not only that what's on the field, but extending to the coaches on the sideline. And I believe in the next 3 or 4 games, I'm not saying that we're going to win every game. I'm not going there yet. But what I am saying is that we haven't seen that playbook 50% of it yet. But I think we're going to see it over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Will we win or not? That's another question. But man, this play call was beautiful.
Well, to
Absolutely
your point,
beautiful.
to your point, they gave it to Knighton. Knighton gave it to Extrepo. Extrepo pitched it back to Van Dyke, and all linemen had to hold. But I want to show you something in this too. You and I both agree, Mallory is not fleet of foot. Okay, all right. He used to be very consistent. He's getting better now, but he wasn't a flash, a tremendous threat down the field. But I want you to see here, I'm going to point at the arrow. That's him leaking out.
Yep.
So you've got Knighton who's got the ball right here. Here comes Extrepo. So you've got 2 dangerous players. So if the defense is looking at that, they're worried about Knighton because Knighton's a big time threat. And now look at this over here. You've got, I think that's Rambo.
That's Rambo. So then
Rambo.
they got him nailed down. You got the linebacker that's coming in across. He's at the 40. What is he at the 40?
I'm going to play it slowly.
7.
Yeah,
and then you got the safety that's coming up.
Right. This is what I think happens. I think Rambo comes and does an out route right around the first down marker. And this guy comes up on a double team. This guy comes in, he's basically following the X-Man, and that allows him to leak out. Let's play it slowly out here. Let's see what happens. Let's see here. Let's see if I can. Okay, you can see him start to see. It looks like it's a sweep. So it looks like it's going to be a sweep. He doesn't have the ball now because the X-Man has it, and you can see Mallory right here. This guy's here, and now he's gonna turn out. So here we go. Watch this. Whoa! I was wrong. He turned in and he created a lane. He created a lane for Mallory on the sideline. Watch this. Wait a minute. Let me get it back a little further because this is really a beautifully drawn up play. See, the receiver creates a lane. He takes the 2 pit players, leaves them wide open. Oh,
yep. Because if Mallory would have cut on the inside,
he would have been covered. Yeah.
But the timing had to be that he had to go behind the other receiver because they knew that other corner was going to be there, and that will create a lane if that safety tried to come over. If that corner did not pick up Mallory, he was going to be wide open because the safety was already sunk in.
The safety was already sunk in. That's exactly right. So let's keep watching. But that was well drawn up. Here we go.
They have had some really, really good tight This week, they just came out and started fast on their own.
1. Oh, okay. This is the next play.
Look at the speed for Harley in the pit territory.
Okay, I got to make a comment on this one. Because again, I heard this from the Pittsburgh staff. They ran 14 of those little bubble screens, 14 to 16 in the game, which was basically a third of all the passes, or and what they were saying was because of Van Dyke's arm strength, getting the ball out there that quickly, it gave the receivers time to make a move. And that was pretty powerful. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Robert?
No, I was just going to say this is another where he catches it and then he runs for 15, 20 yards after catch.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean, absolutely huge. And I'm glad you brought that up because the speed by which that ball travels to those little swing passes, it's a must because the defenders, when that quarterback turns, he has committed to throw that ball, right? Because there's no other way to throw the ball towards the sideline. Your shoulder pass must be almost parallel to the sideline.
Yeah.
So then that cues that corner or safety to come up and hit the guy as soon as he gets the ball. But if that ball gets there too fast, because they're already playing 7 to 8, 9, 10 yards off the line. So you have to have like 4-1 speed, 4-2 speed to get there in time.
Right.
And most of them don't.
You've got to have that's a 20-yard pass, 25-yard pass to the sideline, depending on where you are. So you have to have zip on that ball because they could break on that ball and it's 7 points the other way if you have a weak arm. A weak arm or a finesse quarterback would have a hard time making that throw. You wouldn't be able to live off that throw. And let's see what let's see what happens on the next play.
No, they said that he was down. Yeah, that was a close call. The good thing is that there was no home cooking there.
I think this play coming up is the one that one of your favorite plays.
Oh, this is one of my favorite plays here.
Okay, so I'm gonna try and stop it slowly so you can describe it for us. Hang on a minute.
They protect Tyler Van Dyke when they're called to do that in the backfield.
Mix it up here. Picked up Dennis into the end zone.
Okay, now let me back it up so that we can talk about that a little bit.
So then you had the inside receiver do a down and out, which took the corner, right? And it took the corner. The corner was to pick up the down and out, and the safety was to pick him up after he passed him. But he cut across and did a post, and he was wide open. But the pass went over the linebacker's head just enough, and the receiver snatches the ball out of the air. I mean, the ball was thrown on a string.
I just want to, to your point, I just want to look at that one more time. He threw the ball where the only place where he could place the ball, and the receiver caught it with all hands and jumped on it and left his feet to catch it, which was a beautiful look. Boom. I mean, you just can't.
Look at where the I don't know.
That's one of my favorite plays right there. Okay, right there. Let me just bring that back a little bit. Okay.
Yes, because that was a huge first down.
Yeah, that was. But here's the thing: in listening to the guys' press conferences, they brought this out that's not a rookie play. Okay, he jukes the linebacker by faking a pitch. There's nobody out there to pitch it to. Linebacker doesn't know that. Watch the fake. See, he faked.
Oh
it
yeah,
like he was gonna pitch
he sure
it.
did. He faked it to his right.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely. Hang on a second. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get that off. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. Editor, please take that out. Anyway, so I just wanted to go over that. And I think really the biggest thing that changed is the quarterback. And I think that's the biggest difference in our team. Granted, we have better players on defense, but our defense wouldn't have won us the game. These last two games were won by Tyler Van Dyke for us. I mean, that without his almost perfect performance, we're not winning any of these two games. We've got good players, but the difference is Tyler Van Dyke. So I wanted to get your thoughts. And again, we're not going to go back to NC State because I think we've seen enough with Van Dyke to show he's just getting better, and he played similar against NC State and did similar things. I wanted to get your thoughts going forward as to what you think about the Georgia Tech game coming up. I watched the Georgia-Virginia Tech game, and I'll give you some of my thoughts on that. But of the games coming up, I think we have, is it 4 games we have left or 3?
We have 4. We have Georgia Tech, then we have Florida State, Virginia Tech, and then Duke. So we have 4 games left.
Okay. So share your thoughts with me on the games that scare you, the games that don't, how you think we match up with Georgia Tech, and how you think we match up against Florida State, and who lost to Clemson this coming week.
Well, let me answer the teams that scare me. All right. And this is not a cop-out. This is not a cop-out. This is just a fan who has watched Miami for many years, and particularly the last 4 to 5 years that I'm kind of basing this on. I am afraid of all the teams that are remaining. I'm afraid of, as far as, us beating them. And here's the reason why. From a historical perspective, either be it coaching or the players become comfortable or whatever the case may be, the wheels come off at some point. I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but we need to be mindful as a fan base that we still have a lot of season left, right? I had Miami, from an emotional standpoint, big fan, winning both of these games. But as a logical fan, I didn't see them winning this game. All right. These games, from a coaching perspective, the talent that they had on the field prior to the wholesale changes, I didn't see them winning. But now that I've seen them win, I believe they can win these next 4 games, but I'm afraid of all 4 games. Florida State, and I'm jumping way ahead, saying, 1 game at a time, but we're talking about this stuff. Florida State is not a bad team. I tell you, I've watched several of their games. They play with a lot of heart. They play with conviction. I believe their quarterback is one of those sneaky quarterbacks, so you're going to have to lock him up. We're playing at Florida State. It's a rivalry game. We beat them 4 straight years or whatever number it is. I think Florida State is going to be a tricky game. I think Georgia Tech at home, their quarterback is very good. They are not the Georgia Tech of the past. So you have to play your best game there. It's a home game. That's next week. I believe we can get 2 out of this 4. I don't know if we're going to get all 4. I don't know. I think that the Virginia Tech game is going to be tricky. I think that's going to be a battle for us. They always play us hard. Last year we won by 1 point? I will say this. If the trajectory of Van Dyke continues on its path, the opposing coaching staff have a lot to think about. A lot. Because we have a running game. The Rooster is no joke. The Rooster is no joke. He can run and catch out of the backfield. The offensive line is playing better because of the quarterback, right? You got a quarterback that can see the field. The game has slowed down for him. All right. I believe on the defensive side of the ball, same thing. They're getting better and better. Those young cats are getting better and better. The tackling is getting better. So I'm not into predictions right now. Long term, Georgia Tech, I believe we can win that game. We'll give scores later in the week. But the ones that I'm nervous about that people think that is just going to almost be a slam dunk is Florida State. I don't believe Florida State is going to be a slam dunk. I believe they're hungry. I believe they want us bad. We're playing there. I think that they have the talent too. I mean, Florida State got talent.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense looked pretty good. So we will see. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be anything like we did to them last year, putting up 50-plus points on them. No, that's not going to happen. So
I agree with you.
Those are my wholesale thoughts.
I after viewing a lot of the weekend football in the ACC, because I watched quite a few games, I have become convinced that this is a quarterback league. This is an offensive league. You told me this 2 years ago. If you're going to compete in the ACC, you had better score a minimum of 30 points per game.
Minimum.
So now that goes right back to your quarterback. That goes right back to your quarterback and your offense. So the way I look at it is Georgia Tech just lost to Virginia Tech. I think it was Virginia. Was it this? Yeah, I think it was Virginia Tech this weekend.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech has a passing quarterback who probably put up close to 280 yards or 300 yards of passing. Georgia Tech's got a good quarterback, but he's a good deep ball thrower, but he struggles with the intermediate and the short passing for whatever reason. And they don't seem to put up those kind of numbers because they're still doing a lot of running. So the guy that scares me is the guy from Virginia Tech, because he can go toe to toe and put 300, 400 yards on you and sling the ball. When it comes to Florida State, their quarterback has grown a lot. He's a tremendous runner. He's a really hard-nosed runner. This is kind of really his freshman year. He played last year, didn't play well, but this is kind of like his freshman year. But he tends to throw the ball high, and he doesn't tend to hit doesn't have a high completion ratio. What they've been doing is they've been physically running the ball down people's throats, which most of these defenses are now set up to handle 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. So the run game is open to a lot of these guys. So I don't really look at Florida State as being there yet. I think another year they could be, because they've got they've got 2 5-star recruits, one at corner, one at safety, coming into the next class. So next year they could be really dynamic on the backside of the defense. But I don't see Florida State. I see Virginia Tech as being a major threat. Could Florida State give us a heck of a game? Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, Georgia Tech is going to give us more of a game than Florida State. And then Duke hasn't really done much of anything. I think Duke is really, I don't see Duke, and we could be surprised by Duke. Any Saturday, anybody could win. But now here's the interesting thing. As far as parting discussions go, let's talk about this. Pittsburgh has to play North Carolina. Pittsburgh has to play Virginia. Okay, it does line up that if Pittsburgh, let's say Pittsburgh loses to North Carolina and beats Virginia, or vice versa, it does line up in the standings where there is a possibility that if we win out, that because they're playing each other, Virginia and Pitt. Yeah, take a look at the schedule, Robert. Do you see?
Yeah, I am. I am.
What do you see?
Okay, so yeah, let me see. They have Duke. Well, Pittsburgh. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has Duke next week, but Thursday, November 11th, you have UNC and Pittsburgh. You have UNC at Pittsburgh.
Ooh, UNC at Pittsburgh.
At Pittsburgh.
Now UNC's going to put up a lot of points.
Listen, UNC on the first half of the Notre Dame game, I watched that game last night, gave Notre Dame all that they can handle. Wow. That game was closer than what it looked.
Okay.
Right, based on the final score. Then on the 20th, Virginia plays Pittsburgh. So they still have to play Virginia. And listen, Syracuse has been a surprise.
Oh, yeah. They've got a great running back. He's actually been mentioned. They've got a really good running back in Syracuse. That's
Yep.
putting up some big numbers.
Yep. And I think I shared this with you before the Pittsburgh game. I think everyone should really take a look at Pittsburgh's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Western Michigan, right? They lost to Western Michigan. Western Michigan put up 44 points. And I told you before the game, listen, Pickett is everything he makes out to be.
Mm-hmm.
But their defense,
yes,
even Tennessee put 34 points on them.
yes, I
So
agree.
Power 5 schools put up big points. I mean, Tennessee 34, Western Michigan, not even Power 5, 44 points. Georgia Tech put up 21. Virginia Tech put up 7. So they beat some reputable folks, but it wasn't like they played an Alabama. It wasn't like they played they say, oh, well, they beat Clemson. Well, we all know that Clemson is not what they used to be.
No.
Good team, but they're not what they used to be. All right. So the brand is still there, but so that's Pittsburgh. So let's take a look at who is the other one we have to look at.
Virginia. Virginia's, and I think Virginia beats Pittsburgh. I got to flash that to you now. I think Virginia's defense is much better than Pittsburgh's defense, and I think Virginia can put points on them. I know, because they put points on us.
And here is Virginia going through the ACC, putting up points, and they play BYU this weekend. You know how many points BYU put on Virginia?
No.
66.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. Oh,
and,
my.
And Virginia still put up 49 points. It wasn't enough.
But they put up 49 points.
Yeah.
So there goes my whole thing about their defense, because their defense played us tough.
Yep. Now, Virginia has only 2 games left. They play Notre Dame, which doesn't matter to us.
Doesn't count.
But they do play Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So we need UNC to beat Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh to beat Virginia. And we need to win out. You know, there's a lot of ifs, ands, and scenarios. I got to be honest with you. I don't like talking about these scenarios. I really don't.
I think there's
but it drives clicks.
Yeah. But there's a chance.
People like talking about.
There's a chance. There's a chance. And it's a realistic chance, because I really believe that UNC can beat Pittsburgh. I don't doubt that for a minute.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I think Pittsburgh can beat Virginia, but I like Virginia in that game. I don't know why against Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh would have to right the ship. But Pittsburgh can come back, because that's another thing too. Virginia's defense, Pickett can really take them apart. So
listen, I'm not taking anything from Pittsburgh. So any Pittsburgh fans watching this video, if any of those calls would have went the other way,
yep.
The safety, that ball fumbling and just happening to go out of bounds. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in that game, but you cannot deny our side of the ball as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 426 or 429 yards.
Over 500 yards of offense, because you got another 100 yards rushing. So
yeah. So it's going to be a interesting piece. I'm excited for the last 4 games to see how the team holds together and how they can take these wins and propel and finish the season. It would be miraculous to have them. I mean, we end up at 8-4.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like, and we talked about this. Let me ask you a question, and let's just have fun. And I know folks who are looking at this video, first of all, guys, those of you who have been following us, let us apologize. We had a little technical difficulties over the past several weeks, and thank you, Frankie, for staying on top of that and getting us back on track here with our videos. But for you fans out there, I know you've been playing these scenarios out. But I'm going to ask you this question, Frankie. We go 8-4. We go 8-4. Wow. Boom. Win or lose the bowl game, whichever, doesn't matter. King comes back. Who do you start next year?
I got to go TVD. Because you're only going to have King for a year. You got TBD for 3 years or 2 years. And it depends on how he wins. If he wins the next 4 games in convincing manner, where he's putting up these kind of, which by the way, for us to win these 4 games, it would have to be in convincing manner because they're going to put points on us. I just, we're
wait a minute. Wait a minute. What is a convincing manner?
In other words, we win.
To me, a convincing manner is we win.
Right. No, for me, a convincing manner is we win, but we score 40 points, 38 points. In other words, we're going to have to score. It's not going to be, our defense is not the type of, it's not a Georgia defense where you're going to beat Florida 35-7. So if he averages 35 to 40 points over the next 4 games and has 1 or 2 turnovers, let's say that happens, but we win out and he goes to the bowl game. And by the way, if he does that, I think he'll win. But let's say he loses the bowl game, you got to keep him. You got to keep him as a starter, and because you just can't go back. The window has closed. Love King. I think he's fantastic, but Tyler Van Dyke is doing something that even King couldn't do in that 1 year he was with, which was the deep ball. We were horrible with the deep ball. Now, in King's case, I'll give you a couple other scenarios. We had horrible receivers. We had Mrs. Wiggins running down the field, dropping everything in sight. We had Pope King dropped some dimes and they dropped the ball. Okay, so in King's defense, I'm not saying he couldn't throw the deep because he could. But to your point, you've always told me, hey, I want a big frame quarterback, a guy who's 6'4", 6'5", can see the field. And I think that's making a big difference, especially now, if King was 6'4", 6'5", he'd be a top 5 draft pick. I tell you that right now. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's the truth of the matter. It's because his size, it becomes an issue. So I think that you go with Tyler Van Dyke, and to you were talking to me about earlier, you go ahead and you redshirt Jake Garcia. Don't even talk to me about Jake Garcia for another year or 2. Okay. If he wins out, I like Jake Garcia. I told you I favored Jake Garcia, but the way Tyler's earned it, if he finishes out strong, no, I don't want to hear any discussion about it. You redshirt him, you make him your number 2, and you worry about the team going forward from that perspective. That is for sure. Now, let me ask you another question. Let's say that scenario plays out. Does Manny keep his job? And does he go into year 2?
Listen, I will say this, and I had a good friend of mine. He was saying, you're drinking the Kool-Aid and so on and so forth. And this is a scenario that he put out there. He said, listen, he would have to win out. You have to win the ACC and win the bowl game. I said, listen, man, that is way out there. All I'm saying, for Manny to win his job, to keep his job, you win out.
Yeah, that's it.
Because that's under your control right now. Going to the ACC is not under your control. You have no control of that. You lost that control when you lost those first 2 games to Virginia and UNC. But what's in your control is winning out. And I won't even throw the ball. I mean, I would say Manny would keep his job if he wins out and even lose the bowl game.
I got a better one for you. You want to laugh?
Oh,
you want to laugh? We never thought that we could have a pandemic, right? We never thought that the COVID was going to do it. What happens if Manny Diaz goes 8-4, sneaks into the ACC championship game, wins the ACC championship game? Wait, gets better. And then goes to a bowl, okay? Or no, goes to a playoff and loses the playoff, but wins in the ACC championship game. And now next year is year 4 of his 5-year contract. Not only does he get to keep his job, but he gets a 5-year extension or 4-year extension.
Some of these fans will absolutely have heart attacks.
No, they'd be all for it. They'd be the first one standing in line. Give him the extension. If he wins the ACC and goes into the college, because the winner of the ACC is going to be invited, regardless of their record. They're going to be invited into that championship series. So if he
no, because they only have how many slots?
They have 8.
Isn't it based on your ranking? Isn't it a top?
No, it's based on the conference champion, the champion from the ACC, the Big Ten.
When did that change?
Yeah. Oh, you could have 2 SEC teams in. It doesn't have to be necessarily that. Your rankings do play a part in it. You're right. But I think there's a chance, because if you go, you would be 9-4, and then you'd be 9-4 with all 4 of your losses in August, right? Or September.
I tell you what, you will raise some eyebrows, because you went out, go to ACC championship and beat whomever, and then go to your bowl game and you win that.
Oh, you're getting a big shake.
The talk will be unstoppable.
Yes.
I mean, now, do you make it to the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, with 4 losses,
no. You're right. 4. There's no way you make it to the playoffs. I agree with you. You win that'd be the first time the ACC's not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
In quite some time.
Right. Because Clemson's always been there, because they won their conference championship, and their record allowed them to be in the top 4 or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
So, and this is all fun conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't want anyone to be hitting us on, messaging and sitting as, oh, you out of your minds. It's not. No, this is just a fun conversation, and this is what college football is all about.
That's
right. Just kind of having. I mean, that's why we come into the season with a lot of hopes and aspirations. So right now we're in our second half of the season with hopes and some aspirations.
There we go.
And it's fun to think about, because until it's not true, we can believe it's true until it's untrue.
Well, listen, brother, I'm going to let you go. God bless you, Robert. Listen, for all of you who are watching us, please subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it. And share it everywhere, Twitter, wherever you can, because we want to build the channel. We want to bring you good content, and great conversation. We all love our Canes, and we're hoping that they do become 8-4 and win the ACC championship. That would just be unbelievable. Or go to a bowl game. Either way, it would be a tremendous finish. And I'd rather have a strong finish than have a weak finish and a strong start. Pittsburgh,
and we've seen that.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that. Well, Robert, I'll let you go. Go you. God bless you guys. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button.
All right, man.
God bless you. Talk to you next week.